Hey y'all, and welcome to Glittering the Coast. My name is Angela, and I'm so excited to show you this Christmas tumbler tutorial. And in this tutorial, we are going to be using some printed vinyl, we're going to be using some holographic vinyl, and lots of different glitters. So let's go ahead and get into this. This one is by Zindy, and it is so cute. I absolutely love all of the printed vinyl that Zindy has. So if you haven't tried them, it's going to be linked below, and make sure you click on that and check it out. I like to do the wet method. If you have followed any of my tutorials, when I put vinyl on, I do the wet method. Don't worry, it does not take away from the stickiness. It just helps you to pull it off of your tumbler if you're having any problems actually putting the vinyl onto the tumbler. You can take it off. So what I do here is I make sure that I have it's like almost a 9x9 glass pan. And I put my water in there, a tiny, tiny little bit of dish soap. And then I make sure that the vinyl is wet, and I make sure that my tumbler is wet. Now, this one is a tumbler that I had. It's an off-brand powdered coated tumbler. And I had it. I decided I was going to use it because this one was going to be mine. It's a 40 ounce. And so anyway, it's powder coated. I did nothing special to the coating. I did not sand it. I just made sure that it was clean and put my vinyl on. So what I'm doing now is I'm making sure that all of the water is squeegeed out from the actual tumbler, between the tumbler and the vinyl. This probably took me, excuse me, about 10 minutes to do. You don't want any water under there. You don't want any bubbling under there. You will probably see that if you put epoxy on top of it. So just make sure that you squeegee out all of the water and come back to it if you have bubbles underneath it, and pop it with a little pin or razor blade or something, and just get those air bubbles and water bubbles out from underneath the vinyl. So once you have that completed, we are going to go in with a base coat. I just painted on some acrylic paint in red, and you can get that anywhere, but that was from probably Walmart. So I made sure that that was dry. I just wanted to make sure that the red glitter had a good base of color underneath it. In case I missed any spots, you would see the red underneath it and not like the white tumbler. So that's why I painted my tumbler, just to let you know. And you can see that vinyl holographic red vinyl where the handles are, or where the handle will be. And I did add that on there. I didn't use anything specific to add that. I just cut it and I placed it how I wanted it. Sorry, it was not on camera. So the epoxy that I use is KS Resin Liquidy Split Ultra UV. I use it on all of my layers. It's a fast set epoxy, and I like it because I'm super impatient and I want to get these projects done really fast. So I mix up 2.5 milliliters of part A and part B, add those together, and I would say I probably use 2 to 3 ounces total on a cup. Not ounces, milliliters. I use 2.5 to 3 milliliters of the epoxy on the cup whenever I'm adding my glitter. So the glitter is also from Zindy, and it will be linked below. That one is called Hey Heifer, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous red color. So it has the fine glitter in there, and it also has chunky. It's very pretty. It's not holographic, but it is very, very sparkly. So if you're into super sparkly glitters, you definitely want to get this one. So I have put it all on there. I'm patting it down because it's just going to make my life easier whenever I go to epoxy and sand. I do not want to sand a whole bunch of glitter that is sticking up. Now, with this glitter, you could potentially have a problem with and sanding with removing the red off of the glitter. So you want to make sure that this glitter is nice and flat. So I'm removing the tape. That's just blue painter's tape. I just wanted to keep it off of the vinyl whenever I painted on the red, and keeping all the glitter off of the vinyl. I don't want glitter on my vinyl this time. So I did not show myself recording myself putting epoxy on. But I only have one coat of epoxy on at this point of time. I don't know. I'm just showing you what I did. I've never epoxied anything this big before, or with one of these handles that you can remove. So this is just what I did. You do it however you want to. This is a very pretty, um, it's not a color shift. It's like, I guess the glitter style of, I don't know, is it holographic vinyl, green vinyl? It's by Tech Wrap. I think, could be wrong. I don't know. It'll be linked in the description. This is a really pretty one. I wanted to make this one fancy. So the reason why I actually put the red and the green on here is because the printed vinyl from Zindy didn't reach, it's a 12 by 12. It didn't reach all the way around the cup. And I was like, what in the world am I supposed to do here with this, where the handle is? So I decided I was going to put the red there, which was a beautiful idea. I talked to one of my friends and she said, girl, just put some red, shiny vinyl on there. So I did that. And then I added the green on there to accent it and to kind of cover up where any weird lines would be. And then you just take your X-Acto knife and you cut all the little pieces off that don't need to be there. Now, this I did cut with my Silhouette Cameo 4, also linked below. And I just made little stripes and put them as close as I could together and just made really skinny stripes and cut them out with a Cameo. At this point in time, I did not epoxy over the vinyl striping that I just did. I put the handle on and I'm putting painter's tape on because I'm going to go in and paint the handle green. I actually spray painted it green. I put the tape everywhere, and then because I'm weird, I put tinfoil on it, and then I went outside, spray painted it this green color because I didn't know what color I wanted to do with a handle. I didn't want red, and I wanted it to look different. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just try this green. The green, I will have to link in the description. I can't remember at this moment where I got it from, but it is probably from BJ's Glitter. But it's a really pretty, like, dark green. Anyway, and then I take Elmer's glue. Bleh, goodness gracious. I take my Elmer's glue and I do it in clear. It's just what I have on hand, and a nice soft brush. And I'm just painting that on. I will put my glitter on top of that. And then you will see here in a moment, I'm having a little bit of issues where, because the glue is clear, I couldn't see if I had it all completely covered on the handle. So I go back in and just tap it on. So this was a really good way for me to just put the glitter on the handle real quick without having to epoxy, and then wait on the epoxy to dry, and then, spray paint that. So anyway, that's just why I did it this way. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you can utilize that in any of your crafts. So I made a couple little mistakes here. Just didn't put enough glue on the handle. And that's, pretty cool about using the Elmer's glue. It's very forgiving. You just tap it on, and then you can put more glitter on your handle from there. Now, I have done glitter, I keep wanting to say glitter glue. I have done this before where I've just put glitter on the cup with Elmer's glue, and it works out good. But sometimes you have to add a second coat of glitter, and I just don't have time to wait on that, y'all. Which is why I do the epoxy method on almost every single thing that I do. All right, let's go. We're going to get our epoxy on. Okay, so I did take this after the glue dried. I went outside, I removed the tape. I used Rust-Oleum 2x clear, and I spray painted that handle to make sure that the glitter didn't move from there. And I'm just going in very gently underneath the handle at first with the turner off. I want to make sure that I get all of that under there nice and covered smoothly as I can, so it's not just dripping everywhere, all over the cup, on the paper below it. And then you can see here I'm turning it on. I'll get to the handle in a minute, but because I don't want glitter everywhere, I know I've spray painted the handle, but because I don't want glitter everywhere, I'm going to go ahead and epoxy the rest of the cup, and then I will come back to the handle. So I have, this one is a 40-ounce tumbler. It already has one layer of epoxy on it that I did without the handle earlier, before I did the first little layer of striping. So I probably have, I can't remember what I have here, probably 30 milliliters of epoxy. And if I ever say ounces with epoxy, I don't ever mean ounces. I always mean milliliters. But this one is probably at the very top of that cup. So 30 milliliters of epoxy. And I'm just going in everywhere, making sure that the entire surface has plenty of epoxy. And then you can see here, I'm just kind of scraping some of it off gently because I don't want it to be weird and globby, and just putting it back into the cup to use on the rest of the cup, or to, I'm done. I can put it on some pins, or I can just throw it away. So I'm just making sure that everything is completely covered before I move on to that handled part. And typically work my way up this cup, and that lip there is kind of funky. So you want to make sure right around the handle that it's nice and smooth, so you don't get tons of epoxy that just sits there. And then right below where I'm at right now, just want to make sure that everything is completely covered. Now, because I did not want to switch gloves and do everything, probably a different way than you would, I have now turned off the turner with my wet epoxy on the entire cup. And you can tell it's not dripping because I don't have a ton of epoxy on there. I am now taking my gloved hand and just putting epoxy all over the handle. I'm not going crazy with this because I do not want a giant mess later to have to clean up. And I'm just making sure that all the parts of the cup are completely covered with the epoxy. And then we're going to go in with our torch and make sure that every bubble, if there's anything on there, is completely popped. We do not want bubbles, because if we have bubbles, we are going to have to sand them later on. And the reason why I use a torch to pop bubbles is because it typically does not move epoxy like a heat gun would. So if you use a heat gun, just be, very gentle, because it will definitely move that epoxy and it will slip off of your cup before it's dried. So I'm going in here and I am sanding that really rough area between the glitter and the printed vinyl, because I'm going to put another stripe of that green on right where I had just sanded it at the curve. And it wasn't smooth enough earlier for me to do it at that point in time, because I only had one coat of epoxy on there and I needed at least two before I could sand it. Because I knew that this glitter would definitely remove color if I sanded the glitter. Some of the glitter actually had some missing pigment at the very, very, very bottom of the cup, because I sanded some of that coloring off. So just be super careful when you are sanding your glitter if you don't have enough coats of epoxy on. So once again, we are back with that green, super pretty vinyl. Just using the same stripes as before, the same sizes of that stripe, also cut out with a cameo. I will try to, in the description, tell you what actual size I use for those stripes, if I can remember. I had to use two different stripes on here. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I have the absolute hardest time putting stripes on a cup. It doesn't matter if it's a, horizontal like we're doing right now, or if it's a vertical stripe. I will have to remove it 20 bajillion times to make sure that it is straight. It's really hard to do. But, if you do it right the first time, then you're not going to have an ugly cup. So just take your time on it. I'm telling you, this part probably took me 5 minutes to get the vinyl striping on the way that I wanted it to. So now I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, find out where the two pieces meet. That's why I lifted it up. And I'm taking it and just kind of pushing down and removing that vinyl from there. Let's see, what am I doing? Yep. I need a new X-Acto knife blade on here, apparently. And then I'm going to lift this side up, see where the two sides meet, because I don't want extra vinyl hanging over. And I'm going to cut it there. And then we will get that sealed up and put on more epoxy. Now, if you wanted to, you could do a cute little stripe around the handle, or you could do more stripes around your cup. But this is my simple little version. This cup is for me, and this is what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to go outside and spray paint the entire cup. So I'm using I think it's a matte, a finish of polyacrylic, and just painting it on. This probably took me about 15 to 20 minutes for it to dry completely. But I'm painting it on both directions, like I'm trying to push the polyacrylic down into the vinyl, like where the adhesive part is, so that I don't have any weird bubbling if the epoxy got underneath that vinyl. Hopefully that made sense. That's more work of sanding that I have to do if the, vinyl bubbled up. And that really irritates me. So I gotta make sure that we do it the first time so we don't have extra steps for ourselves. And I didn't have much cleanup here on the rim to do, but basically I take my X-Acto knife. I'm very careful with it and slow. Just make sure that you get all of that weird epoxy off of the top rim so you have less work to do at the end. And I guess I already have epoxy on this part because I definitely would not be sanding the green stripe that I had already put on there. This probably has like 5 layers of epoxy on it at this point in time, or 4 layers, and then maybe like a 5th layer on top of it at the very end. And it's not a heavy cup, so just, light layering. But where I'm just going around right now, just trying to get off all of the really hard, bumpy pieces that are sticking out, because at this point in time, I'm ready to be done with this cup. So just sanding it. If you have any questions on the sanding or any steps that I have, please, like and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will absolutely answer every single comment that I see. I try to do my best here with that because, I'm doing tutorials for a reason. I want you to be able to make these cups. And if you have any questions, I want to be able to help you with them. And let's see here. This is probably going to be the final step. The turner is off at this moment. So because I have the glitter set with more coats of epoxy, I'm starting there with the turner off. I'm working on the handle first, and now I can put the rest of the epoxy on the cup. So basically, whenever I do handled cups, I make sure that the handle is completely covered with epoxy, and then I'll go right underneath it and make sure that all of that is completely taken care of. I'll go right under it and right above that handle, and then I'll go around the sides of the handle to make sure that there's no random epoxy just hanging out and making a big giant mess. So I've probably got, at this point in time, 20 to 30 milliliters of epoxy for this cup, and just making sure that everything is smooth on the bottom of the cups. You want to make sure that you're really careful with how much epoxy you put on there, and you want to make sure that it is as flat as it can be so that the cup doesn't wobble when you put it down. If it does wobble, make sure your epoxy is dry and give it a good sanding. Try not to get down to the glittered part. And then you just go in and put more epoxy on. So this cup turned out super cute. I really, really love it. I think I'm going to do something cute for the lid with a topper, since this one's a 40 ounce. It's basically a Stanley dupe. And I've got the toppers. So if I've got this tutorial up, hopefully I will have the cute little topper that I want on there. Look how cute this turned out. I absolutely love this cup. It's so cute. If you have any questions, like I said, please link them below. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a super fabulous day.